This is the Trillium Running Podcast, brought to you by Athletics Ontario. I'm your host, John Shep, and here we celebrate Ontario running and bring together voices from across the road and trail running world. We are making strides towards a thriving and inclusive running community because running is for you, for all, for life. So we at the Trillium Running Podcast continue our trek through the 50 years of the Tamarack Ottawa Race Weekend, Tamarack Ottawa Marathon. We have Ben Kaplan here from iRun magazine. Both has competed and covered and is a exciting member of the sport. Welcome to our collaborative Trillium Running Podcast, Ben.
Well, thank you so much for that warm introduction, and I'm pleased to be here for sure.
So I have said before that this is the most excited man in all of Canadian running. So Ben, let's turn that on. What is it about Tamarack Ottawa Race Weekend and the Ottawa Marathon and all the events in between? What makes it such an iconic Canadian event?
Here, I could put it up in a single anecdote and tell you why I love it so much. And people who were there last year will know what I'm talking about. And if they missed it, I want other people to sort of hold on to this idea because this is what the sport is all about. Last year at the Tamarack Ottawa Race Weekend, after the elites did their press conference, there was school classes who came in and they were autographing pictures of Melinda Elmore and Natasha Wodak and all these great Canadian. Cam Levins was there signing autographs. And to see these charismatic, generous, warm and wonderful human beings that are the Canadian elites, but who are also, sweet, regular people, but with this incredible drive and, God-given talent that they harness to the ultimate degree. And yet, though, seeing them and these connections and seeing the kids line up to get these autographs and knowing in my heart of hearts and in my mind that these athletes deserve that sort of recognition and they should have that sort of recognition. And in races like Ottawa or the Chili Half, which we just had in Toronto on Sunday, or any of these events where you run on the same course as Melinda Elmore and Cam Levins. Whereas if I go to watch LeBron James play basketball, the difference between LeBron James and me is vast. You will never be confused that you're breathing the same oxygen. But when you're in Ottawa, boy, you're doing the same thing they're doing on the same course that they're doing. And even when the course sort of loops in on itself, you can see going in the other direction when they've lapped you. You can actually see them running in the other direction. The leaders, when you're in the middle of the pack, you can see them. And it's just so inspiring and wonderful. And I think the city really gets it right. And the racers are really given their flowers. And it's a wonderful thing. And last year was amazing.
Well, and you know what? Thank you for that. And now, have you competed? I mean, I've done the marathon once. I've done the 10K once. Have you competed at Ottawa yourself?
Every year. Oh yeah, I've done it 10 straight times. And last year actually, I mean, the beautiful thing about Ottawa for me, or one of the many, is that the founder of iRun, Mayor Mark Sutcliffe of Ottawa, is now the mayor of the city. And he remains, I mean, last year, him and I ran the marathon together, him as the mayor, me as now the new owner of iRun. And to spend that much time, I mean, he's my mentor and I love this man. And to see him elevated to the mayor and see how the different people interacted with him and to see how he didn't change and he still behaved the same way. And he had all this time for me and we ran the marathon together. And I have such a beautiful video of afterwards because he really struggled out there. It was hot. So I really had to kind of work, it's my pleasure. It's an honor, but he leaned on me a little more than you would if you were running, as you would. But and afterwards we had this beautiful video of us hugging and things at the end, and Ian Fraser hugging, and everybody and all the cameras were there. It was extraordinary. I mean, these are moments I'll remember all my life.
Well, and so you've run 10 years of Ottawa, very different years. And so you've had probably cold years, you've had hot years, you've had hotter years, and then you've had probably the hottest year. Now, did you run the year that they had to reroute the course a little bit?
I did. Yeah, I did. And none of these things ever really truly, all of the excitement and all of the hullabaloo. None of these things really impact me. It's hot, it's cold, it's this, or that. That's the sport.
Mhm.
So if it's really hot, you drink more of the water. In these races by now, they know exactly what they're doing. So they had more noon. I think noon was the hydration that they were using that time. And so there's more noon on course, and there's all these water sprinklers coming out. And you have to lean into these situations.
Yeah, it's not exactly like we're doing easy things at any of those levels, right? 5K, 10K, marathon. I mean, I just completed, so I was raising money for the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario, and I just
Wow.
did a Goggins and a half. So the typical Goggins challenge, it's 4x4x48. I'm like, you know what? Done it. And you know what? To be hard, you do 48 hours. When you do 72 hours, that's
Jeez.
when you got to get soft. That's when you got to get kind. That's when you've got to look at care. And so, you know what? 4x4x72. But to your point, at no point was that necessarily easy, but that's not why we do it. We do it to challenge ourselves. That's why the tens of thousands of people that are lining up at the various races in Ottawa, they're doing it for the challenge.
The greatest race of my life thus far was Boston 2014, I think. The year that it had really horrible weather, and Krista came in second or third or something like that. Krista Duchesne, and it was a big story. She was thinking maybe she could come Masters, third place Masters, but she ended up getting third place overall because the weather was so horrific. Not horrific. It was a snowstorm and
It was a hard day.
it was but for me, I was out there like, boy, I had such gratitude, and I had the distinct notion in my mind, and I love to tell this story because with every kilometer I passed, it dawned on me that's one less kilometer I'll ever get to do again in Boston. So I was actually nostalgic for my race while I was doing it. But my mindset, I mean, that's how you want your mindset to be when you're racing, not like, how am I going to do this? Oh no, my watch, or this, that, the other. It's like, this is amazing. Look where we are. This is incredible. All these people, we're laughing. We have agency when we do these things too.
I think,
I
you
get
know
the
what, I think
gratitude.
that's really huge. And it's the gratitude. I mean, with the Trillium Running Podcast, we end every episode asking, like, what was one good thing about your day? Because it is about gratitude. And I mean, I bring it back. So that Goggins challenge that I did, right? Like, I was looking at it, Goggins and a half. Every lap, I was thinking about a different thing. I was grateful for a different thing. I was grateful for my wife who was supporting at home. I was grateful for the fact that the car wasn't being problematic, that it was really looking like it was going to on Friday. But I was grateful for the skunk that was defrosting in the snowbank for the 3 days as we went. And I was grateful for my grandfather, who was always the person who congratulated me on these. And so, yes, I think those moments of gratitude and gratefulness carry people through that event, whether it's Ottawa, whether it's Boston, when the times get hard. So I guess I'll turn it over to you. When has a moment been, and maybe it's in Ottawa itself, where it's just gotten hard and you've had to dig yourself out?
Oh man, I mean, it's part of the sport. I had in Ottawa 4 years ago or
Mhm.
whatever it was. I guess 4 years ago might have been the pandemic. So
One
I
of
literally,
those years ago.
whatever, one of those years ago. And actually, I had this thing. I still sort of get it from time to time. I have no idea what it is. Maybe if someone hears this, they can chime in. But where my calves will seize, and I don't know if it's a hydration thing or what, but I've had this several times. Anyway, my calves sort of seize, and then my legs end up kind of locking. You just can't move. And in Ottawa, oh, it was I teetered over into the spectators. And like one of the spectators, and this is no exaggeration, and somebody sort of standing there, like I fell into their arms, like it wasn't I wasn't putting it on, like this is
Mhm.
what happened, and somebody like gave me a sip of their Gatorade, like and then they kind of hoisted me up, and then like the medics came and they kind of hoisted me up, and I started kind of hobbling again, and I was making it down the course, and I think somewhere like like 37K, 38K, and I get back up and I'm kind of hobbling and I try to run a little bit, but I kind of can't. And then I saw somebody from Toronto who I knew. I run with Black Toe, and they're these people, they go up there, Doug and Sam, they're hearing, and they're like at 41K, and they've got popsicles and beer and things like that to give to the runners or whatever. And I remember he handed me a beer and I took a sip. And then I was like, I don't want to be disrespecting the course. I don't, people were out, it's not really too cool to be doing that. So I tried to put the thing down, I put it down, and then I fell down again, like put the stupid beer down, and it's just like, oh, just do nothing. Just try to, and I kind of popped myself back up. And anyway, that certainly was a war out there that there. I shouldn't use that term given that there really are wars in the world right now, but that was a difficult experience.
That was your challenging year.
Yeah, that was a challenge for sure.
Well, and so as someone who's done Ottawa 10 times, you racing it in May?
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, this is the big one. This May, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm counting down the days. I just ran a good half. I'm looking forward to everything. And by then we're getting close to the Olympics. So I expect running to really have a fevered pitch. And so I just know it's going to be extraordinary. I cannot wait.
Well, and so for the other registrants for Ottawa, all the distances, you got any words of wisdom for them as a not so old veteran in the sport?
I mean, have fun out there. It's a gift. You're going in. This is the biggest event in the country, the biggest running festival that we have. I would encourage everybody to watch the 10K last year. So if you're running the marathon, it's Sunday morning, but Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening is when they do the 10K. And last year it was like Cam Levins versus Mohammed. And it was like this real cool, like, it felt like Foreman Ali and Zaire. Like it was like this real thing. So I would encourage people, just if you're going in there, to take advantage of the weekend, to go to the expo. There's a lot of activities happening, to see the elites and to get their autographs and to talk to them. And if you're running on Sunday, to watch the event on Saturday night. And if you're doing the thing on Saturday night, watch some of the stuff on Sunday. And this is our Boston Marathon. So it's like, but it only is what we give into it. It's only as big as we make it, all of us. So it's like I would. So when they call the elites names and you see Cam Levins or whoever, clap like these are our guys. This is so, you are an active participant in the weekend. So I would encourage everybody to be involved. It will make the experience more fun for them. It'll make the experience more fun for everybody. And that's what I would say. And that's what I always do.
Yeah, and you know what, sage words, because you're absolutely right. You can create the event that you want. You read up about the event going into it. You know about the elites. To your point, you spectate at some of the other events. You build up, so it's not just you're showing up Saturday night, picking up your bib, and then Sunday morning you're putting it on and going. You can enjoy this, to your point, this festival feel that Ottawa can provide.
Oh man, every year I do it. There's John Stanton in the at the expo signing his books. All of these things are just, and it's fleeting. I will say this too, that like I remember one year in Toronto, I did this whole thing with Ed Whitlock. Ed Whitlock was the great Masters runner who was also this like just the salt of the earth. And him and I had a whole song and dance we would do. I was going to do a book on him, and we became close, and we did a whole song, and then and then he passed away. So it's like this stuff. Melinda Elmore's, they're getting older, like and it renews and new people come, but it's like see this stuff while you can, get an autograph while you can, because it's fleeting. So make the most of it and enjoy.
Well, so you know what? I'll ask you the question. What was one good thing about your day, my friend?
Oh man, today my son came over to the house and he was really bummed out. My kid is 10 years old, and sometimes he experiences challenges, and he was bummed out. And then I was like, okay. And we went to the bakery on the corner and we had a donut before breakfast. And he was like, Dad, I can always count on you to cheer me up when times are hard. And I was like, well, that's exactly how it's going to be for all of our life, my man. And that's how it is with my dad for me. And that's how it's going to be for you. And that's how it's going to be with you and your son. It's like, life is good. And that was this morning.
And you know what? Phenomenal way to end this. Thank you, Ben, for joining us. Now, iRun's got some interesting stuff coming up. So why don't you do a grand reveal here for everybody who's listening to the podcast, everyone who's watching on YouTube?
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's a super duper exciting time for them. We're back. Our print magazine is coming back in the spring, and we're going to revisit one of my favorite sort of concepts that we ever did when we said running is for everybody. And I made this beautiful gatefold with all these different people on it, all runners of different sizes. And the idea being that there's no one stereotypical runner. This is for everybody, which I firmly believe, so we're playing with that concept, and we're working with Sasha Golish, and we're working with ASICS, and we're really trying to do something that really can capture and celebrate the diversity of our sport.
Amazing. Great messages. Great person to have the message. So thank you, Ben. And I appreciate you joining us for this collaboration with Run Ottawa and celebrating 50 years of running.
Thank you, my brother. Keep up the good work.
Thank you to Tamarack Homes and Athletics Ontario for helping us bring this video and podcast series to you. Join Tamarack Homes in celebrating the 50th anniversary of Ottawa Race Weekend. Register now at runottawa.ca. And don't forget to visit athleticsontario.ca or check out the show notes to become a Road and Trail member and discover all of Athletics Ontario's amazing benefits, including discount codes to some of your favorite or soon-to-be favorite Ontario races.